What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be hopping back on NASCAR 21 Ignition. It's been several years since I've even touched this game, I'm not going to lie. We all know how it kind of went at the beginning, and I haven't played since then, so I just figured I'd get on today, give it another try, and kind of see, what's changed, how have my opinions changed, how has the game changed. Obviously, it's been a while since I've uploaded on this channel. I'm off at school now, but I'm back home for the week, and I have access to my PS4. I'm playing on the new Xbox, but now I'm back on my PS4 at home, so I figured, I might as well revisit the game and my channel while I'm at it. So I figured I would just go ahead and take a look at that. Drop a like if you enjoy the video, and, we'll see where that goes. I can't promise anything, but you never know. I'm kind of enjoying the process of making this video, so with that said, it's been a while, obviously, since we've played this game, me and probably a lot of you guys. So let's go ahead and jump back into my thoughts after playing from years away. Now, if I could just really quickly go into kind of how this game was on launch, because everybody knows that this game was very, very poorly received. A lot of people consider it even the worst video game of all time at launch, and it was just so buggy. It didn't come out the way anybody had thought. The trailers were hyping it up to be this awesome new game on a new engine from a new company, and it really just turned out to be super half-baked. Half-baked is a word that I'm going to use probably a lot through this video. I'd say that that's really describes how this game is and was at the beginning, and it still is today. I feel like the whole thing is just extremely half-baked, and obviously it's really easy to get on here and just make a video. Yeah, NASCAR 21 is bad. Everybody knows it's bad. But I want to get into the reasons why, and maybe some reasons why it's even not as bad, or had some good ideas at the very least. So first, what we're going to do is go ahead and take a look at the gameplay, and then I'm going to go ahead and dive into some of the features of the game itself. Now, ultimately, the gameplay is going to come first. We love when the aspects around the sport can be great, like the career mode and the different presentation options and customization available in the game. But the gameplay is going to come first. If you don't have a solid racing experience, nobody's going to want to play your game. So I took some notes while I was playing. I apologize if this is a little scrambled or all over the place, because again, I just took some notes and I'm trying to decipher how I felt about my experience. But ultimately, the word that kept coming to my mind when I was playing this game is that it felt heavy. Like the car felt sort of like it was on wheels. If you've touched this game, you probably know what I mean. Like on the old NASCAR games, NASCAR 14, NASCAR 15 specifically, like those Technics games, it always felt like you were on the edge of control. Your car was light, and it was sometimes annoying, especially at super speedways, because it didn't really feel like you were in control. But I feel like that was sort of perfected in the Heat games. Like, it just felt in control. Like, it wasn't as light as it was in the NASCAR 14-15 era, but it felt still like it was kind of on the edge. Like, things are going well, and you can control your car, but if you, go ahead and make a mistake, or you start getting too close to the other vehicle or the wall, things can really quickly get out of hand. But in this game, it feels like there's almost no consequences to what you're doing. For example, you just saw me run into the wall there. I didn't really lose that much speed. I obviously overdrove into the corner, bumped into the wall, and nothing really came of it. I never felt like I was going to lose control of my car or lose a position. It just felt like on rails, I ran into the wall, I corrected with no issue, and really nothing of consequence happens. The same thing happens if you collide with another car in this game, and the collisions in this game are kind of weird. They feel really sticky, and there's also a camera rattle effect that I really don't like. It's kind of distracting, but even if you run into another car, unless you're trying with all of your power to hook them either into the wall or into the infield, nothing is going to happen. Like, you're not going to lose that much speed. You can basically just run a car up the track into the wall and ruin the race for them, and you're not really going to be penalized for that. There's not really a ton of damage that comes from that. You're not going to lose a ton of speed, and it just feels super, super arcadey like it did back in the day in the EA games. Obviously, those games are fondly remembered, but that was 20 years ago. Physics have obviously improved a lot in video games from then, but this game just doesn't really feel like it got that right. Let me throw kind of a weird analogy at you. So take current day Madden. The game feels kind of slow and clunky and some would say heavy because it's filled with so many animations. Every play, it feels like the game is taking you to where it wants you to be rather than where your skill actually should have had you end up. That's kind of how it feels in this game. It feels like the game is taking you to where it wants you to go. And if you want to deviate off that path, you have to do something drastic, like hook somebody into the wall, because the game, even though it's not necessarily animation reliant, wants you to stay on this path. It wants you to take the ideal line like you're supposed to and get to the finish line in a quick manner because that's obviously the goal and that's what you're trying to do, but the game shouldn't be able to just force feed that to you and give you everything that it wants to without you really having a choice or having any sort of struggle in the matter. Hopefully what I said there made sense. I don't know, I might just be crazy, but if you've played the game, I feel like you probably know what I'm trying to say there. And all of that makes for a pretty unsatisfying game loop, and I could maybe get over that if it weren't for the fact that the little things in this game just really can't do it. Like, it really hinders the experience. So, the first thing that I would say as a positive, though, for the little things, is that they fixed the spotter in this game. I remember at the beginning, the spotter was super annoying and just yapped and yapped and yapped in your ear, and the subtitles were on the screen constantly. And it feels like they've really toned that down, which is great. I really actually enjoyed the fact that they had those subtitles and that you're getting this spotter in your ear, especially if you're playing the first person viewpoint. It's really helpful, actually, and I think that's a great feature that they added. But on the bad side, I absolutely hate the camera flip in this game. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know how bad it is. But in racing games, obviously if you want to look behind you, you can use the joystick and flip around to the back camera view. A sensible racing game would realize that you have just seconds to do basically anything in the course of this race. You need to be locked in. So when you flip around, instead of setting off an animation, you press the joystick, it flips you immediately. In this game, for some reason, it wheels the camera around 180 degrees, and it takes probably maybe 3/10 of a second, which doesn't sound that bad, but when you're dealing with these times that you have to be so reactionary with, it sucks. It is not fun, and it's really anti-player. It's just a tiny little thing, but it feels so bad. And that's the kind of thing that makes this game bad. That's why it's not likable. Another thing, the AI is just not good. It doesn't react to you at all. Like, if you're taking the racing line and there's an AI, it will come down and just bump you out for no reason. It also doesn't react to the grass. Like, you'll see in some of these clips if you're watching that these AI will just take the line on the front stretch through the grass and it doesn't slow down at all. Nothing happens. Also on your screen there, you just saw the end of the stage. And if you're not in the top 10, for some reason it just stops you and it's kind of jarring. You don't see it coming at all. It doesn't let you race back to the line. Nothing like that. It just stops you and it's weird. And again, it's a really little nitpick thing, but it just feels bad. And I feel like that's a great way to describe the gameplay of this game. Is it's hard to place, but it just really doesn't feel good. Now that we've gone over why I don't really like the gameplay, I'd love to dive into the features here. And the features are such a hard deal to talk about in this game because they have so much potential. This game got so close on so many levels, but they just couldn't pull it off. It is extremely clear that this was the first game in the series, and there's nothing wrong with that because it could be built off of. But the problem is, obviously, this game got canceled after the first year, and Motorsports Games lost the license, and so we'll never get to see what that image fully looked like. Like, a big one in this game was the presentation, and the presentation in this game is honestly great. The national anthem is cool, they bring back the announcer, and it's really just a good experience. It gets you in the feeling of NASCAR, and it kind of reminds you of what it's like to be at the actual race. But just like anything else in this game, there's a downside. The frames are so slow. And honestly, in general, this game looks really bad. For a PS4 era game, it just looks weird. The shadows are weird, and the speed on the cars looks so odd. But the presentation was good for the first year. And if we look at the career mode, it was good for the first year. It felt like they had all the right ideas, and when it came down to actually executing them, it just didn't work out how they wanted it to. For example, in this game you sign contracts, and it's actually a really deep system. You have favorability with each team, so you can see kind of how likely they are to sign you. Each team has different ratings, which is crazy. That had never been at least publicly available in the old NASCAR games. But the problem is in this game, again, half-baked, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't change how fast you are. You're not going to be any faster in a Joe Gibbs car than you are in a Rick Ware car, even though the rating says you are. It might affect the AI and how they race each other, but it's not going to affect you. But, like I said, the contract system is really cool, and another reason that it makes that so cool is that drivers from lower series, which is not in the game by the way, can move up to the Cup Series. Like in a career mode that I did, Chase Elliott's number 9 was occupied by Noah Gragson, which is really cool. They just bring him up from the Xfinity Series, and most NASCAR games don't do that. Like, that's such a cool little feature, and some of these cool features really went to waste in a game that was received as poorly as this one was. In addition, the standings portion is great. Again, it's a really small thing, but it's done well. You can see the playoff standings. You can see the regular season standings. You can see the car standings, because some cars are driven by, part-time drivers like they are in real life. You can see the team standings, like Joe Gibbs versus Hendrick versus Stewart Haas. And you can see even the manufacturer standings. So they really have every single aspect that there could be covered, which is such a cool deal because they don't do that in a lot of NASCAR games. There's also a legacy system, which is super cool. Kevin Harvick is number 1 for some reason over Bill Elliott, which is crazy. I don't know why he's so high, but fair enough. And it's just a really cool system. It's sort of like, again, in Madden they do this in the career mode, but you can work your way up amongst these drivers that have been great over time, and you can make yourself the GOAT of the sport, which is such a cool deal that they put in the game. Again, it's just a nice little polish that they do. And it really sucks that this great career mode was, one, hampered by such poor execution, and two, of course, is in this game, which is bad. That just about wraps up my features talk. I do quickly want to mention this game has a great soundtrack. I remember that from a long time ago, and it stays true. Like, the soundtrack in this game is kind of slapping, which is kind of cool. You don't really see that a lot in NASCAR games, but it's got some pretty big licensed songs, which was awesome. And that's about all I had to say on the feature side. After coming back to this game, it really wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. My experience on launch was that I bought the deluxe edition of this game. It was over $100, and I was in high school. But I was so excited, and I bought it, and I was so underwhelmed. I just played a few hours of this game and threw it aside because it sucked. And it wasn't quite as bad as I remembered, but it's still obviously not a very great game. The gameplay is just off. It feels weird. It's tough to put your finger on why, but it just doesn't feel right. On the feature side, it just felt like they were so close, but just couldn't get it quite right. Just like the gameplay, it was sorta there, the idea, but they just couldn't put it together, and that sucks. It killed this community for like 5 years. But we have a game coming out soon, and we really just need to rally together and get excited for this game, because this community is obviously tattered, and we have a long way to go to get back to this game. But NASCAR video games are what got me into NASCAR as a kid, and we really need to be here for that next generation to continue growing our sport. So the last thing I want to say is just thank you guys for watching. I know that this video isn't super high quality. I don't have a high quality mic. I don't really know how to edit, but I loved doing this channel when I was younger, and now being home for the weekend, I figured I'd just give it a try because I love the memories, and it's just fun to be able to hop on here and talk about the things that I care about with you guys. So thank you for being a part of that. I hope you guys are all having a great day and a happy Thanksgiving. And with that being said, thank you guys so much, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon.